This is a deck that I would classify, and this is a very unofficial term, as half jank, like 50-50. So if it's 50-50 jank, that means it is also 50-50 not jank. And the not jank side of it is the centerpiece character is Major Shockwave, who is, super rare and like the controllingest control character who ever ran control decks. So you don't look at that guy and think that screams like thematic for the sake of thematic theme deck. And I get that. He's an awesome character. But I will hope to explain in short order here why this is not the usual kind of deck you expect. One is just because of my personal playstyle. I don't like interrupting what my opponent is up to. I don't like scrapping upgrades, and with Shockwave, sometimes I may transform him from bot mode to alt mode because I need to draw a card from the top of my deck. But I feel very apologetic about the second part, making my opponent scrap a card from their hand. If it was optional, I would tell them not to do it. Here we go. So, why build a deck with Shockwave at all? Well, this is an Autobot Shockwave deck, which you cannot do by rule. You can't put a Nobles Blaster on him or the Matrix of Leadership, but you can pair him with two fun fellows, Beachcomber and Brawn. And you might see right away what this deck is up to now, because if we're running Beachcomber, who has the ability, when you flip to this mode, name a card, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the named card, draw 3 cards. You see the synergy with Shockwave, who allows you to look at the top card of your deck at any time. So, on our first turn, we are going to transform Beachcomber, get him ready. On the second turn, we are flipping over, looking with Shockwave at the top card, naming our card with Beachcomber. The official order may have to be, before you transform Beachcomber, look at the top card. Okay, then take your flip action. Remember the card you looked at, then name it, draw your 3 cards. So the idea of this deck is to ramp up the hand relatively quickly. To be fair, in a meta which now, again, for more than 3 years, has been dominated by Wave 5's crushing combination of orange, black, and direct damage all at the same time. The issue is just that small characters don't survive very long. You may not get more than 1 time to transform Beachcomber. There's no guarantee that you're even going to get 1. Even that 1 is fun, and if you can get into maybe more, then your hand will ramp up really quickly. Brawn is here, and he's actually, even though he's just a 5-star character, and this is not the central mechanic of using Shockwave's ability to guarantee Beachcomber's ability to upgrade your hand size, yet Brawn, with his ability to add Pierce right away, really wants to have lots of icons in the deck, so that has tilted the deck construction really heavily. We're going to have, it's blue, it's thoroughly blue, but it's blue-green, it's white, white-green, it's blue-black, it's blue-orange, it's double blues, but we're throwing all kinds of icons out there along with the blue, so that Brawn, right away on turn 1, can start putting in the damage. See, I've run this kind of deck before with Night Racer over here in a very typical kind of blue shield myself build, and even though Beachcomber's here, adding a bunch to your hand, the deck still functions really slow. Like, unless I can play a weapon and play an action that's going to put in the damage, these little characters with their little base attack just aren't going to do much. Brawn defies that right away, so we get started as soon as the game starts, putting in the damage. On that note too, thinking that we want to act fast, Beachcomber's ability here to draw 3 cards is not going to be about chaining into brainstorms or like putting a ton of upgrades on Shockwave. All I'm going to use my hand size upgrading for, really, is to focus on the playsets of both War of Attrition and Extra Padding. And even that's a gamble. You probably would, in playtesting this deck, discover, as I've seen in like previous attempts again with like Night Racer over here, that you, on the first run through of the deck, kind of have to choose one of these or the other. And sometimes you find yourself realizing towards the end that like you chose the wrong path of the two. It's highly situational. Why can't you accomplish both if you're conceivably drawing 3 cards with Beachcomber and maybe getting more with Scouting Mission? Well, sometimes, and you know this even when you're chasing like one thing, like Focus Fire or Extra Padding as the case may be, or like Attack Drone, that sometimes 2 copies of the same card come out on the same attack roll, attack flip, or defense flip. That is compounded by the fact that you're chasing 2 sets at the same time, so you might flip over a War of Attrition and an Extra Padding in the same defense attack and then be left kind of shaking your head. If the game goes long enough, you can get 2 passes through the deck, and because of the flipping problem, that could even be an issue. But we are drawing lots of cards. The deck is built to do that. You should hopefully be able to accomplish at least one of these runs on the first pass through, so we're certainly giving it like a good try. If you can get the Extra Paddings on Shockwave, then of course, I mean, Wave 3 control trick, he's just tough 3 and he's ready to take things on. That means less in Wave 5, but we do have the 3 copies of End Hostilities when we get there. And then with the 3 copies of War of Attrition, you get to throw out 3 damage and then repair 3. As you know, this is going to become a theme to the deck too. We're going to try to turn into the healing for this in the event that we might be able to have the game go long enough for a control build like this to, you know, ramp up. So, let me move these characters over to the side a second. Just a final note. As I said, I'm really not trying to discard cards with Shockwave, so the flipping density is not going to be strong. However, he could have some utility on this side, where looking at the top card of the deck, he can play a Decepticon card or a secret action. We do have a few secret actions in here, so that's just a way to cheat on hand size again without like interfering with what our opponent is up to. And then, of course, 7 base attack is more than 6, so when you need to put in the damage, that's available to you. And then, in a pinch, and with some regret, you may end up transforming Shockwave, drawing a card off the top, and not being able to avoid asking your opponent to scrap. But there we go. Brawn, I would love in certain situations to use his ability over here to defend with the extra icons, because we're going to have tons of them, but really all the flipping density is going to go to Beachcomber until Beachcomber is gone. This is the final note on these characters before we really get into the cards. With Brawn and all of the icon colors in this deck putting damage in right away, and with our opponent seeing obviously that Beachcomber is the card drawing engine of the deck, your opponent's gonna actually have to likely choose to really invest in taking these 2 characters off of the board like from the beginning of the game. They will see, of course, that Shockwave is really the, you know, centerpiece of the deck and that he's the main threat, but these 2 aren't just blockers. They both have strong abilities, and the longer your opponent lets them live, the more damage they're putting in, and the more they're changing the game. So functionally, I do think these characters have a kind of brave function without having to put it printed on their game text, which, at the end of the day, keeps the heat off of Shockwave long enough for you to build a strategy. Again, we have the extra paddings to give him tough, and this deck has a lot of healing, but that does require enough of a hand size to get that going, but these characters can give him time, hopefully, to do that. Or at least to start putting the pressure on right away. Alright, so there's our characters. Shockwave, Beachcomber, Brawn. So I had mentioned that we are looking at a lot of icon colors. So we have our War of Attrition, blue-green, extra padding, blue-green. And then I'm going to put in 3 copies of Rollout. And the idea here is Beachcomber wants a way to flip over. That can get you 1 turn ahead on drawing extra cards. And you may find that you want to spend an action on doing that. It is, in some ways, more efficient to use another action that you actually like, and just to wait out however many turns it takes for Beachcomber to flip naturally. But, if nothing better, I mean, you could conceivably get your 3 cards in 1 turn. And you have an orange and a blue. The orange is important for Brawn because however many icons colors you want to flip, he's still only going to have as much pierce as he has attack, and in a heavy blue deck, oranges are hard to come by. So if you can flip an orange while he's attacking, there's a good chance that with all the rest of what you see, you may just get that 4 attack and pierce 4. That's the hope. And then if you're really batting 1,000, maybe you'll get like pierce 5 or something. Okay, so similarly, we have the Matrix of Leadership. I don't foresee us playing this at all, but this deck, because of these cards right here and the many greens we're going to see ahead, has a lot of spending room for cards which we actually like don't want to play. So this deck has tons of room for like cards that just love their icons. This also gives us that other half of the 50-50 scheme, in the sense that this feels very jank. You cannot play this on Shockwave, but insofar as this is an Autobot Shockwave deck, here we are with the 3 matrices of leadership. Can you, in a pinch, play them on Brawn and Beachcomber? Yes, but neither of them is a leader, so you're not going to give them extra pierce that way. But who knows? You may see that you're really close to knocking an enemy out with Brawn, but you want to guarantee 1 extra attack. Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. But for the most part, this is a trade-away card. Cycle it back into the deck so you have more opportunities to flip into orange. On that sort of a note, here's 3 handheld blasters. We are not playing this card. We just like the double blue. And 3 security checkpoints. And you say, hey, that's a great card. And I say, yes, for the double blues. We are not playing this card. No, no, no. Well, I can't say we are not playing this card. This is a card I do not like to play. But it's double blue. Put it back into your deck. Cycle it up for double blues. And, again, spending capital for green icon cards, of which there are many. Let's table these to the side for a second. Going on. So, we have Matrix of Leadership and Rollout with the orange icons. We are going to flip some of those oranges into blues with End Hostilities, and against aggro decks, we want to just be able to block, so we have 3 copies of those. And we're going to turn our blues into oranges with Belligerence, which you know is a fantastic card. Turns enemy blue into orange, but in this deck, like, we have 3 security checkpoints, 3 handheld blasters, 3 matrices of leadership, 3 rollouts. So you have 12 double icon cards. Belligerence will turn, of course, these into double orange, but it will also turn these into double oranges. So yeah, Belligerence is great. Okay, then we're going for that healing idea on Shockwave. So we've got 1 toolbox, and if at all possible, you want to pick this up when you see it. But again, with all the greens in this deck, that can be tricky. We're also running 3 copies of Hold the Line. So here we have white and green, so more icons for Brawn. Also notice that Belligerence, with its orange icon, adds to our total, so we have 9 orange icons in the deck. That's going to help, in a pinch, get the extra damage for Brawn out there. And Shockwave, of course, will enjoy having extra attack because most of his damage is going to be by raw attack stats. So Hold the Line is a wonderful secret action. It can, of course, really stop small characters from putting in outsized hits on Shockwave. But then it also repairs the damage, which we're looking for with our War of Attrition. If you have Toolbox on Shockwave, then every Hold the Line you play is going to give you 2 repair damage. So this is real nice. And then 3 copies of Scouting Mission. Here's a blue and a black, so more icons for Brawn. This is the first and only set of black icons in the deck, so you're not going to see a lot of that for Brawn, but his ability turns anything into black. So yeah, if you were to flip a Scouting Mission with Brawn and you had an orange or like 2, you could do wild things. So it's always great to like have the hope in there, but we're trying to go for the cards that fit best in the deck. This is nice, but the other blue blacks available to us don't quite make the cut here. Scouting Mission is a do-it-all kind of a card. Of course, we have our blue, so we're continuing with that defensive strategy. You have the black icon, which can do unexpected things on attack. You have the ability to do a damage to any character. You could ping your opponent if they're 1 away. Rare, but certainly possible. And then you can ping yourself for the opportunity to draw 2 further cards, which again, Shockwave loves, and also to set us up for Energon Axe, which is the classic trick with Scouting Mission. I'm undamaged, I'll play this, now I can play this. Shockwave loves this, but Brawn, if he's alive in round 2, would love to add 3 base attack and 2 extra pierce to what he's up to already. So cool. We are already at 34 cards in the deck, so let me clear some space. And you've got the control sense already. We are going really icon heavy. We have some secret actions. We have tons of double blues. We have end hostilities to turn orange blues into double blues. We've got our Toolbox, Hold the Line, War of Attrition, extra padding. There's not a ton going on here that's putting damage in, and that should worry us a little bit. So the rest of the deck, such as it is devoted to that cause. Scouting Mission is not quite, I mean, that doesn't really belong, although again, you can ping for 1, but it does set up the Energon Axe. What we're really looking at is Belligerence, so we can, for 1 turn, become an aggro deck instead of a control deck on attack. You have your Energon Axes. I'm giving 1 Scoundrel's Blaster just as a reliable way to put a +2 onto Shockwave. Here's a Noble's Blaster in case Beachcomber or Brawn are still around in round 2. Here's 1 Piercing Blaster. If you see extra damage available to you, maybe for Beachcomber, then here's a base of 3, and then you can combine with, say, the bigger they are. Because, of course, we have a 5-star character and a 6-star character, so, you know, this is the old standby from Wave 1. Give a small character +2 and Pierce 4 against some with more stars. That is, at the end of the day, situational, because not every enemy character is going to be smaller than Brawn or Beachcomber, but they certainly are like low star cost card and cards, that is. And I mean, you'll know from playing this game from experience that this is a standout, stellar support character supporting card. So there's the whole idea for the deck. Let's really quickly, here, we're gonna put this aside. I'll take this out for a second. Let's look at like all the cards that like add icons into the deck. This is just kind of blue. I'm even gonna pull these out. Of course, they're double blue, so that's wonderful. But thinking about Brawn and what Brawn is looking to do, I mean, Toolbox says give you a green, but anyways, in terms of like against the blue adding on to the blue. We're going to keep Belligerence just because it shows you an orange, and that's like an unexpected pop in the deck. So with Matrix of Leadership, Belligerence, Scouting Mission, Nobles, Scoundrels, Hold the Line, Rollouts, War of Attrition, Extra Padding. We have 1, 2, 5, 8, correct my math, 11, 14, 17, 20, 23 cards. I mean, 20 cards that have multiple colors of icons on them. 23 that can like really help Braun out. And then, I mean, we have our blues to defend because all these are blue too, but blue is the goal here. Even this Piercing Blaster though, you know, gives you that white, helps you flip over. You didn't see that at all. Helps you flip over extra cards. So, am I expecting this deck to win a lot of games? No. I can hope, but I do think, contrary to the experience I've had, again, with like Night Racer, Beachcomber, Shockwave, this deck can start putting damage in fast and really enjoy the icons that are being flipped over. And we accomplished the goal of Shockwave being... I mean, in this game, you're always trying to win. So your characters are always trying to knock out your opponent's characters. But in terms of going against Shockwave's normal way of bullying the opponent's hand, this is a very benign version of Shockwave. He has teamed up with a couple Autobots, and for the sake of ramping up hand size and like fueling his own squad, this deck gets away from trying to like worry about exactly what our opponent is up to and like stopping them. This is just putting on the best show that our characters can. Ultimately, is that the best strategy? Perhaps not. It's a playstyle thing. But I think it's thematic, so it certainly feels nice. And hopefully with a few surprise plays from, you know, the 3 copies of War of Attrition or a well-timed Belligerence, you can swing. And then in the late game with Toolbox, you can sort of keep refreshing Shockwave's health total. And there's the deck. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.